We have up next Representative Chalesky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The clerk has an amendment through you. Could that be distributed and I be allowed to summarize?
So everybody pay attention, please. We have an amendment from Representative Chalesky. And so she's going to distribute this amendment. And we will give her leave to summarize. So everybody should have a copy of this amendment. So amendment has been distributed. And this is so everybody understands this is an extremely unusual process in appropriations, in particular in the budget, to call an amendment. None of us are really sort of the ones that we all understand amendments, but none of us really like amendments at this point in the process. We like to talk about things afterwards. And so Representative Chalesky, if you could summarize your 3 lines here.
Okay. Thank
think you need to summarize, but you could summarize the 3 lines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I appreciate all your work as chair, as co-chair, as well as your co-chair and our ranking members. I understand, the pressures you must be under during this process, of which I'm brand new. So thank you for, enlightening us along the way. While I appreciate that work, I was very disappointed to see in the budget of the 4 approved charter schools, Danbury's charter school was left out. Danbury's charter was approved 6 years ago in the same rigorous process that all the other large cities have opened their charters. That process included multiple opportunities for the community stakeholders to be heard that showed overwhelming support and need. Since then, the stakeholders have engaged in the legislative process at both local and state levels to continue to show their support. They have written letters, made phone calls, held rallies, provided hours and hours of testimony before us. They're in this room today with us and also watching virtually. Our Danbury city leaders, the mayor, majority of the city council, majority of the Board of Education have pledged their support. At the same time, our mayor supports HB 5003 as well and intends to fully fund the Board of Education's recent budget request. Danbury will not lose ECS money should we have a public charter in the same way. We do not lose money when a student decides to go to a private school or a VOAG school or a technical school. This is not a funding issue. It is a choice issue. It is an equity issue. Our student enrollment grows every year by about the same number of students that this charter would phase in, 110 kids. 110 in a sea of 3,600 students at the state's largest high school. And to be clear, the Danbury delegation does include support for this charter, not just myself. We cannot let one or two people decide against the majority of the will of the people, and for that reason, we have moved SB 1096 forward. Please consider this amendment that would sufficiently open Danbury Charter School. I move the adoption of the amendment and request the vote be taken by roll. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and I would ask that we stand in recess for 10 minutes, and if we could, I don't know what rooms we have available, but give me 2 minutes.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, point of order. I would like to second her
Oh.
her amendment.
Oh, okay.
Amendment.
It's been moved and seconded. I
Yes.
apologize. And if everybody could stand in recess for 2 minutes, 10 minutes, but nobody go anywhere for 2 minutes. Let me just,
Okay.
let me just have
20
a
minutes.
conversation with somebody. So.
Democratic Caucus in room 2B, please. Okay, we'll hold it for. I don't either. That's why we have caucus, so. We didn't know that they were gonna do this. Huh? Well, I'm sorry.
So we have an amendment on the floor to vote on, and I'm just gonna sort of let people know what's been going on because many of you are not here while we're making these votes. And normally Republican amendments that come up are automatically voted on, and they are voted down. And normally we don't even go to caucus. That was not something that we normally do either. But that is where we stand on that. And so there's amendment on the floor. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion on this amendment? So I'm going to start the discussion. I didn't. Let me see. So I'm going to start the discussion. So I'm going to tell you that I am a charter school supporter, have been and always will be. And to me, this vote is more about process than it is policy, because I will continue to support the Danbury Charter School and any other charter school there is, because I think it gives parents choice. That does not necessarily mean that I'm going to support this amendment for the following reasons: that we don't support Republican amendments when they come up. We go forward with the underlying budget, and the underlying budget is a $50 billion process. It's a $50 billion project, which I have, and my co-chair has sat side by side, hour after hour, skipping meals. It doesn't look like I've skipped any meals, but I have skipped meals. And it's also caused rifts between Representative Walker and myself through this process, and we are best friends.
Not about charter school, though. Not about
We're both on the same side relative to charter schools, but just generally speaking. So for my charter school friends, I stand with you and I will support you. I will work to continue to support you within the confines of the process that we have here. And I will align myself with the process that we normally do with this. I did talk to Representative Chalesky. I asked her to withdraw, quite frankly, I asked her to withdraw her amendment. I did that because I think it's in the best interest of us moving forward and getting things done. because there's too much at risk in this budget. Absolutely too much at risk in this budget. And there are people here that are going to vote no on the budget too. And I say to them, when your issues are more important to you and you can't look at the whole and you look at only one piece of this, then I cannot continue to support issues from people that don't want to support the whole. And in this whole budget, there's $3 million for charter school expansions, both in seats, and there's charter school expansion in the weights that are referencing charter schools. I have probably the best charter school in the state, although some of the others may disagree. And that's the integrated day charter school. And I encourage people who vote against charter schools generally to understand and to visit a good, well-run charter school that's a union charter school. But this today is not going to be about that. It's going to be about the process that we have in front of us. And this will wrap up in probably a half an hour or so, and then we will vote. But I wanted to sort of let you in on the inside baseball part of this thing here. And so I know that there are other people that want to talk on the amendment. Representative Walker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The most wonderful experiences that I've had have been going to the charter schools in my area. I actually see children enjoying education. I see children working in smaller classrooms, but for a purpose. Those children need to have that ability to grow and develop. I also see parents. Parents are dying because their children can't get into programs that they know are better for them. I've had so many parents call me and say, please give me choices, give me opportunities. And that's what we should be doing. We should not be trying to cut off opportunities for parents to have choices, because that's what makes us great. It's what makes us a democratic society. The bill, the amendment before us is so freaking difficult. I said freaking. Because yeah, I got church, I got ministers
I'll
out
be there
there
on
giving me church.
Saturday.
But seriously, it's so difficult because it is only the process. I also am a very strong advocate for charter schools. I believe that our families have to have this. I think our children have to have this. And I hope that's a charter school group in here. I really believe that it's very important that we, as the legislature of Connecticut, need to make sure that dollars are offered for every type of education, whether it be magnet, technical, agricultural, choice, or charter. We need to stop trying to isolate education into one lane. It's not one lane. If that were the case, then all the children would look alike and they all walk and talk the same. Every child is different. Please do not falter from any of this. Please keep your advocacy. God has told you to do that, so please keep that advocacy going. I thank you for being up here and staring at us in the eye. And I thank you for advocating for all of our children. Thank you.
Representative Nuccio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm obviously going to be in support of this amendment here, and there's a few reasons why. And I cannot tell you how much I respect the two chairs of this and how much we've all worked together on that. And I've been in some of their miserable meetings. I don't want to call them their miserable meetings just because they call them miserable meetings. But I feel like, what more of the democratic process can we ask for than this amendment? This is the democratic process. We as the United States of America, as a government that's here, we have the right to follow the process and amend this, especially when you look at, there is room in the budget. There is, most annoyingly, I will point out most annoyingly, there are 3 charter schools that are being funded in this budget. There is one that is not, and I want to know what is the obstacle to that one? What is the obstacle to that one school being funded? And why are we allowing that obstacle to rule the democratic process? This here is a town that was promised a charter school. They've had funding in this budget or in budgets throughout the years, and it has continually been yanked. And as Representative Walker said, I thank you for sitting here. Look us in the eye. Look at who's voting. Look in the eye of the people who are going to vote for or against this. This is something that is important to parts of the Danbury delegation. It is their democratic right to bring this forward, this amendment forward. It is the process in which we are here for. It is the process that we are elected for. And yeah, this budget is tough. It's hard. It is a hard process to go through. And I would just say, Representative Cholesky, thank you for representing your district. Thank you for bringing this forward. And I hope we, let's have the vote. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Berthol.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would clearly align my comments with those just made by Representative Nuccio. What we are seeing here today, right now, is the democratic process. I spoke to that when we reconvened here 3 hours ago or whatever it was. And as much as maybe some people don't want to take action on this amendment, some do, I will be supporting it. This is the process. This is what you all expect us to be doing when we sit in these committee rooms and we end up in those beautiful chambers right up the lawn here in the Capitol building. And I'd also like to commend Representative Cholesky as a freshman, bringing out this issue, supporting your district. This is something that's been very important to the people that you represent way before you were elected to the seat that you're in. So I thank you for that. And lastly, I will say this to my Senate chair. Thank you for your complete transparency. Thank you for making us in this room understand the process, because not everyone would necessarily do that. And I thank you for taking that position today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, can I just,
Representative Nuccio.
thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to add one other little thing to this. I had somebody much wiser than me in the political arena tell me at one point, if you're doing something that gets both sides of the aisle wrong, mad, you're doing something right. Yeah, right. And I think we are seeing that here. The fact that typically a Republican amendment will fail. It fails very often in this building. The fact that we just had to caucus for as long as we did, this amendment is right. We're doing something right. So I thank you for that.
Representative Nolan, followed by Representative Callahan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just wanted to speak on the decisions that we're about to make. And in no way I'm gonna make it clear, am I against any charter school? And in no way do I want people to think that I don't support charter schools. I was the dean at a charter school. My child went to a charter school. And I have great faith in charter schools and how they work and what they do for our children and how our children prosper in them. I'm just not prepared to support the Republican amendment. In discussion with the co-chairs, we are going to have further discussion in regards to making sure that we can fill that void and do something. We are pretty in depth to the budget, and I've seen how they did things and how they worked out the budget as it is. I think in order to do something like this, we need to make an adjustment. I'm not saying that it's a terrible thing, but I'm saying that in consultation with the chairs and with a few other people, right now I can't support this. But that does not mean that I just don't support charter schools. And I hope that people can clearly understand that And I see a few of you shaking your head, and that's okay. But I'm in this seat and I have to do what I think is best. And in conversation with those that I have to trust, I have to work with them to make sure that what we say is going to happen. And I'm hoping that what we're saying is going to happen. Thank you.
Representative Callahan.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate being recognized. I just wanted to comment on the amendment, and I appreciate my good colleague from the 138th proposing this amendment. I am a member of the Danbury delegation, and I wholeheartedly support this amendment. I'm hearing a lot of talk from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, how they support charter schools. However, I'm going to sit here and say I support charter schools, and will show that with a yes vote on the amendment. And I also understand that perhaps maybe Republican amendments on this committee always get voted down. But this is a good amendment. This shows, yes, I support charter schools, or no, I don't support charter schools. And with a yes vote, I'm prepared to do that today. And the Danbury Charter School has been passed over too many times. It's time to support them. And I would urge my colleagues to do so with a yes vote on this amendment. Thank you.
In case anybody didn't know, there's a roll call vote that's going to happen on this. In case anybody didn't think that was going on consent or anything. Senator Summers.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make a few statements. First of all, you heard earlier today that this budget was worked on in a bipartisan manner, and I'm really glad that that is the case. I do think it's sad that we have heard today that Republican amendments fail, okay? Because these amendments are amendments that are helping citizens of Danbury, not just Republican people that we're helping. We're helping all those citizens. So I think that's a sad day in Connecticut when we're saying every Republican amendment will fail, because both sides have good ideas and we have worked on this budget together. I want to remind everybody that the city mayor supports this, the Board of Education supports this, the majority of the council supports this. And I think that this is an important part of the process. We can't have a system where amendments aren't allowed. That's not part of our governmental process, and regardless of who puts them in. I voted in support of Democrat amendments that I think are good. We have citizens here from the town, and I know, being here quite some time, getting hundreds and hundreds of emails in the past about supporting this. And I don't want the people of Danbury sitting here to be disenfranchised in our system. You have been promised a charter school. It has been funded. That funding has been pulled. So I today am a yes on that, and I hope that my colleagues will join me. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Representative Reyes.
Thank you, Madam Chairs. Thank you. I want to thank everybody in Appropriations for the body of work that you've already done. It's been a long day already, and I apologize. I'm not physically there. I normally would be. I'm really not feeling well, but I wanted to speak on the amendment as a rule. I would also not be supporting the amendment from the Republicans, but this is something that I feel is very important to not only the city of Danbury, but owed to the people who have actually done the body of work to actually get the school finally built. This is a long time in the works. And as one of my colleagues has already said, we've already approved 3 schools. I would like to see us move forward with the Danbury Charter School, take politics out of it. Let's put the people first. The very people that we're trying to help are the very people that come before the BPRC consistently year in, year out. And I would be hypocritical if I didn't support this. And it's for that reason that I will support the amendment. And I am in line with supporting the budget as my colleagues have put forward. So again, thank you to the representative who put the amendment in. I think it's an important piece of legislation. And this is only the continuation of this conversation. This is not the end, but this is an important building block. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Belinsky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have to say that on this particular amendment, my vote is going to reflect how I have always felt about this charter school in Danbury. Because I have constituents, even though I'm not in the Danbury delegation, that have lobbied me for it as well, and I do believe in choice. I want to just quickly remark that the words that I heard from our chairs and the ranking members moved me. They were stirring because the need for educational choice is something that's very, very real. And the fact of the matter is, this particular school in this particular community with a huge capacity issue in its buildings is so very badly needed. And we are stuck in a place right now that I just can't reconcile with myself. The fact that we're willing to on camera admit to the fact that Republican amendments can't pass or don't pass. I can't even find the proper word to express what the heck does that mean and why is it so dysfunctional that we're here? So, you know, whether this is in order or not in order, I suggest that for anybody that believes in choice, this Republican amendment can become a friendly amendment if we have a single Democrat that wants to sign on to it. And as a friendly amendment, maybe we have the opportunity to do the right thing for this community. So I'm supporting it. I'm appalled at the excuse that Republican amendments don't pass. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did this once before, and I can remember 2 years ago, all of, these parents, these good parents from Danbury, literally begging for this school. And recently I went and read to a classroom. And one of the things they asked me was, what do you do in Hartford? And I said, while probably you hear your parents talk, and they admitted, I said, I always remember that I also represent the children of my district, the children of the state of Connecticut. And instead of fighting over how we're going to fund education and fighting over bills, these people are begging us for a charter school. They are begging to have their children educated. And that's our responsibility. And that's why I think this amendment is a good amendment. I think this amendment needs to be supported. And I will certainly support it. And I thank Representative Shaleski for bringing it forward and doing the right thing. We have an obligation to not just represent the adults, but to represent the children. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Felipe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's clear to many people on this committee and a lot of you that are watching that I have always supported this school. I usually recommend in my budget recommendations that we fund this school. And to be honest with you, many a time we get to this very point and it feels like somebody's taking all of the air out of the room or trying to make the folks that come from Danbury that are clamoring and asking us to do the right thing, that we're trying to make them submit, that we're trying to make them weaken and not come back year after year after year, but still they come back and still they ask the same thing. And in years past, to be honest with you, when we got into this point, I folded. And I have done the thing that was the easy thing to do, done the thing that is, going with what I think the consensus or the majority is doing. However, I can't continue to do that. I cannot continue to watch these people come year after year after year. Folks who, you know, quite frankly, don't only represent Danbury. You have Lead and Dominican Coalition who are both in my district, both very close people in my district that help me get here every year or every 2 years. So I'm going to support this amendment, and I'm going to do it because I'm tired of sitting down when I should be standing up. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are there any other comments or questions? Senator Kushner, and that was, by the way, that normally wouldn't take a call, but that was the governor. And there are two people that I pick up the phone for, the governor and my grandson. So, and not in that order. Senator Kushner.
I have lived in Danbury for 30 years. And so I live in the community. I engage in the community. I think anybody who has followed my 4 years as a state senator, now my 5th year, knows that I spend all of my time in the community, going to events, going to people's houses, talking to people, going to meetings. I spend my whole life in Danbury. Of course, I have to get to New Fairfield sometimes and to Ridgefield. I should make that clear, but I'm very invested in this community. I raised 3 children in this community, and they all went to Danbury Public Schools. And I feel very strongly about education. It is not easy to be in the position I have been in for the last 4 years, opposing a school, but I do it because I don't think it's the best educational move for Danbury. I am sincere in that. Anybody who knows me knows I'm honest in that. I am not just operating on a very limited surface level. I have investigated, I've researched it. I've talked to so many people about this issue. So I just want to clarify, this is my view, and it's my view because I care about the children of Danbury and our education system. And I think we need to make it better, and I'm working very hard to do that every day. So I know we have a fundamental disagreement, me and some of the people in this room. And I know you believe in what you believe in very sincerely. But I ask you to understand that I believe what I believe very sincerely, honestly. And I have been totally engaged in trying to make education for all of our Danbury students the best possible education against many obstacles. But I will continue to fight that fight because I believe in the children of Danbury, and I believe they should have the best possible education. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I will be voting no on the amendment because I don't think it's best for Danbury. And, you know, I've urged my colleagues to vote no because I hope they trust in me and the work that I have done to fight for the people of Danbury and especially for the children. So that's my position. I felt obliged to say something particularly to any of the.
Excuse me, Senator Kushner, if you could just address your comments here and not, you are,
It's
can't
hard when
do
you
that.
have 2 rows.
no, I'm sorry, you can't do that, please. Thank you.
It's very hard when you have 2 rows and there's people behind you. I think many of us don't like having our backs to people when we're speaking to them. So I apologize for that. But I do believe that if anyone is interested in having further conversation with me, I'm always willing to have that conversation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Johnson.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And again, I want to thank the co-chairs for their great work putting this together. I do plan to vote no on the amendment. And I just want to say, people have been talking about open choice. Why are we not opening our borders between our towns? That would be open choice as well. We have a lot of opportunities to do all types of open choice. And this is one of them. I'm not against having open choice, but we could open our borders, and we haven't done that. If we're really that broad-minded, we should be opening the borders between our towns and letting people go from one town to the next. We have a lot of vacancy in some of the suburban schools where they really are going to have to close some of the schools down. And a lot of places in the urban areas have a lot of overcrowding. And we've had that for years, which is one of the reasons that we had charter schools to begin with in the 1990s. They were going to help us. The other reason is because we've severely underfunded our schools for years and years and years. And until 2017, we actually started to begin to follow the Horton versus Meskel case and provide equal educational opportunity in our urban areas. But here we are now, and we have a situation which it is about money. It is about funding. If it wasn't about money and funding, then what we would have is we would have fully funded special education instead of having to pay 4.5 times the per pupil cost, 80%, and then having to come and make up the balance from the local community of 20%. So it is about cost. It is about open choice. I'm all for opening the borders. I'm all for charters. I'm all for magnets, but I'm also for making sure we meet our constitutional obligations, and that is to make sure the local communities are funded properly in accordance with Horton versus Meskel, and also making sure that the Sheff versus O'Neill case is followed and that we do provide access for our students for integration. And so we really need to think about what we're saying when we ask about open choice. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Representative Chaleski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't want to belabor the point any longer than it already has been, but we've tried open choice in Danbury. It failed. I've also lived in Danbury over 20 years. I'm a mom of 2 children in the Danbury public school system. I see it through them. I'm volunteering every day in the school. I served on the Board of Education for 5 years. I think I have a sense of what our community needs and wants as well. And I wouldn't be here in this seat if Danbury didn't want it. Okay. I appreciate the comments about the process and also working, with me through it as a new legislator. A one size does not fit all. What works great for one child may not work for another child. This is not about funding. The funding is already in the budget. Am I correct?
That is correct.
And while I appreciate the process and the comments about the process hasn't worked for Danbury in 6 years. And we've done all that we've been asked to do through every hoop. And it's going to take a flipped seat in the House or beyond, perhaps, and a rare amendment or 2 to get this through. Then that's what it's going to take. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? Representative Porter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, this representative to my left said the air has been sucked out of the room, and I will agree with that. It's a hard place to be right now. And I've been sitting here. I've had conversations on both sides of me. We've been in caucus to talk about this. And I can't veer from what I've always done, no matter what the issue has been. For me, it comes down to choice, whether I agree with the choice or not. And I support charters. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I support all charters because I don't think all charters are equal. But what I will say is that I've always said the people closest to the problems are closest to the solutions. And because I don't live in Danbury, and I haven't had an extensive number of conversations, some, and I've also had conversations with the Danbury delegation, and I know that they stand, some of them, not all of them, in opposition to this. So what I will say today is I'm going to stand in the truth I know, and that is to support choice. Regardless to whether I agree or not, I'm not going to, I can't put myself in the middle of this to that degree without having more knowledge. So I think at this point for me, an informed decision and an informed vote would be to vote in the favor of choice. And I just want to put that on the record. And I hope that as we continue this work in progress, that we will be able to meet somewhere in the middle of this thing and get it finally resolved. Because there's many sides speaking, and I think that all voices need to be heard. And it's not anything that I haven't done before. Let me just say that too. I understand the process, but I have to lean towards support and what I believe in, and that is choice. And that's where I'm going to land on this. So I thank you for the opportunity to speak and put that on the record, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Curry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is not a vote for charters. This is not a vote against charters. What this is this is a result of decades of allowing a municipality to underfund their public school systems and get away with it. And I would love to say that that is unusual, but it's not. Which is why I think I have spoken to more people of faith, more superintendents, more boards of ed, town selectmen, anybody I can get in front of to try to fix the disjointed system that we currently have for funding public education here in the state of Connecticut. There are parts of this budget that I do not like. There are parts of this budget everyone sitting up here does not like, but many of us are going to vote in support of this budget. Part of that is the addition of charter school funding. I do not necessarily support the new funding in this budget because we have not fixed the problem in front of us. If I have assurances and guarantees that we're working towards that, which we are, and we have never seen this before, ever. We have never seen a spot like this on education and education funding in decades. And it is about time because our children deserve it. The children that attend all of our public schools around the state of Connecticut. So until we fix what we currently have, I cannot in good faith stand up and support an amendment, a surprise amendment. Forget about being a Republican amendment. We don't typically support surprise amendments because there were rumors that there were going to be some on our side, of which I would sit here and also likely vote no, because that was not something that was negotiated, discussed prior to the meeting that we are all sitting at here today. So process is important, but also the children of Connecticut are much more important. And we're going to get to a point where we're going to see a school in Danbury. That is inevitable. But we have to ensure that we are funding all of our public schools in a manner that doesn't harm any of them. And for that reason, I will be voting no on this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Funicello.
Thank you, Madam Chair. During the public hearing process, I heard dozens of residents of Danbury speak on behalf of a charter school. I could hear the passion in the voices and see the passion on the faces of the parents who were here. I support their passion, their desire to give their children the education that they want them to have in the venue that they want their children to be educated in. And for that, I support this amendment, and I encourage my colleagues to join me in supporting it also. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator McCrory.
Sometimes I don't have the right words to say, and I don't know what to say. None of this before surprises me. I'm not surprised about anything when it comes to education in this state. I've lived in this state my entire life. I worked in the field of education my entire life. And nothing surprises me. I mean, I can pick up on what my colleague said about a surprise amendment. Yep, that's right. We don't do that. It's not part of the process. It doesn't work that way. I can speak to what other colleagues said about, opportunities and integration and how the choice program didn't work in Danbury. It ain't going to work in Danbury. And it's probably not going to work in any other school district in this state. If you look at the history of education in this state, especially how it pertains to poor people, Black people, people who speak a second language, and brown people, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and it's been embarrassing for a long, long, long time. And what we have before us are communities that have had enough of the process, had enough of the politicians, whether they're Republican or Democrat, to come before them and say they really care about their children and care about education. And we haven't been telling the truth. And I fought myself today, but maybe I haven't done a great job, a good job of trying to educate, of trying to explain to people that these children who've been suffering is the word, in our traditional public schools, and their parents who've been suffering in our traditional public, asking for a choice. And they come to us every year, especially the people in Danbury, and say, give us choice. And we tell them no every single year. And it's not just we tell them no, we don't even roll out our option. We don't roll out a plan to correct the fact that in some school districts, 90% of the kids can't read and write. We don't have a plan to correct that. So too many of us are just comfortable with what we are doing. We're going along to get along. We give more money, we make ourselves look good, but no one has spoken about outcomes for children this whole session. It's been a fight over money, schools, but no one said, if I have this school, or if I don't get this school, your kids are gonna learn how to read and write. No one has advocated. See, the people in Danbury, they can't afford wealthy lobbyists or have people who work in the system come up here who make $100,000 a year who would never send their kids to a school system like Hartford or Bridgeport or Danbury. They would never put their kids in a situation like that. But they ask you to do it and pat you on the back. I see my pastors here. I'll just say this, and I don't care if it's politically correct or not correct. I don't care at this point. I know we allow people to come into our churches and talk to us during election year. But I think we need to start diversifying our guest list and stop looking at what letter is before their names and have them communicate with your congregation so you can see what they say to you when they're before him and what they do to you when they come up here. Do that. I'm asking my community to do that. Listen, I can't tell you how to vote for this amendment. Everybody in Danbury is absolutely right. Everything they're saying is absolutely right. Absolutely right. I just, it's something in me is saying that the system is broken, and if we don't get it right, Connecticut will not look like, if we continue to not properly educate our kids, our Black and brown, our poor kids in the state, which is 40%, our 50% of our population, what do you think their state is going to look like in 5 to 10 years? Who are we preparing jobs for when we say your electric boat can't find 10,000 people? You think the kids that can't read by 3rd grade are going to take those jobs? No, they're not going to happen. And there's going to be more and more of them. So listen, this amendment is probably not going to pass. But Danbury, I would do everything in my power before I leave out of here. You're going to have a school. You're going to have a school. It might not be next year. You will have a school with God as my witness. Because I can't play the politics with these people. I can't. So listen, I'm not gonna. I wish I had the courage to stand up with you, Danbury. I wish we could have worked on this. I wish that I knew this was coming, so I could help you. I want to help you. I want to help the kids in Bridgeport. I want to help the kids in Bristol. I want to help the kids in New London. I want to help all the kids who are failing in traditional schools that we have the data for the last 35 years. We can't say the situation doesn't exist. It's right before us. So listen. Unfortunately, I know this is not gonna pass. I ask you guys to vote the way you are. I probably can't support, but Danbury, continue. I can't leave this seat. And I don't know how long I'm gonna be here. But I cannot leave this seat and not commit to you that you will have a school of your choice for your children in your community with all our taxpayers' dollars paying for it fairly. And if we continue to treat children who parents choose an option of educating their children in a charter school differently from the way we treat children who educate their children in a magnet school, in a traditional public school, we're gonna have a problem. And I hope 5003, if we can get that passed, solve that problem. I have nothing else to say. I'll say this, I am very disappointed. I am extremely disappointed in us, in this system, in this institution. And again, I said this before. I don't know what structural racism looks like. I don't have a definition for that. I don't know what institutional racism looks like. I don't have a definition for it. But I know how it makes me feel. I know how it impacts my community, and I know how it impacts your community. So I'm not calling nobody that. I'm not calling it. I just know that what we're doing down here doesn't fit right in my gut and in my heart. And I know we're not doing what's best for Danbury. And if we're not doing what's best for Danbury, we're not doing what's best for the state. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative McCarty.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I was not going to speak today, but I feel compelled that I must say something. And I appreciate very much my colleague on the Education Committee, but I've devoted my life to trying to improve education in the state of Connecticut. Served 20 years on a Board of Education. I care about every single child in this state, and I want to have quality education for every child. And that was a previous bill that we talked about earlier today, to look at a funding stream and to bring parity so that we don't have two separate types of Connecticut where we have children that are not served and don't have the resources. So I just wanted to make this comment because this has been very difficult for me. They're all public schools. We're talking about all public schools and offering choice within the public schools. And I'm 100% behind that. But I also understand the argument that has been used when we look at the underfunded that the state has done for decade after decade for some of our inner city schools. This is a problem that we have, that we're not offering the same services to all of the children in the state. And I'm committed, and I'm saying it publicly, to continuing to work with the Education Committee and my colleagues so that we don't have to have a conversation like this in the next decades going out. If we were funding properly all of our schools, we would not be here today talking about this type of choice and making this hard decision. So I will be supporting this today, even though I am saying that we need to look at all of our public schools and raise the bar so every single child in our state, whether they go to a charter, a magnet, a traditional school, that we have parity in the funding so that we don't have to have these difficult conversations and keep center and focus centered on our students. So it's a difficult, I'm not talking about the process. I'm talking about what we have done in our state for many, many years on education. It's a very difficult situation. And I hope we can all come together to realize that these are our children in our state and we have to give them quality education. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Paris.
This this is probably one of the hardest days I've had yet as a legislator, because For me, I like to be as prepared as I possibly can be to know all of the facts on the issues that come before us. I also believe that institutions and process, although not perfect, are sometimes bigger than the person and the roles that we are in. But more than anything, I know that we owe everything that we do in this state, every decision that we make in this building, hand in hand, Republican and Democrat, has to be for the advancement of our children at the end of the day. I have supported charter schools. I will continue to support charter schools because I want to see that it is fit that young black and brown children and young children from marginalized communities have the best opportunities in life and have the same opportunities as their white counterparts in suburban schools and are being taught at the levels that they're being taught. That won't change. But because of the process, and because that was not included in what we have gathered here today for, I have to stick with that and vote against this amendment. But that does not change the fact that we do need to refocus our efforts on training up our children in the ways that they should go so that when they grow old, they won't depart from it. We have to be able to continue to educate them the best way that we can. And I hope to look forward to doing that in the future. Thank you.
Representative Delnicki.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was here for the public hearing where there had to be, what, a couple hundred, maybe 250 people. And I took the time for 400? Wow, 400 people were here for that public hearing. And I took the opportunity to look people in the eye, talk to them, and find out just how important this issue is. And it was inspiring because I'm thinking and I'm saying to myself, they drove up to Hartford from Danbury, and what? Must have taken an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours to get here. And they stayed until their name was called, each and every one of them, to express that desire for an opportunity, for opportunity. I mean, that's the American dream. Opportunity is the American dream. And what you make of that opportunity is, in essence, what a person can attain, how they can grow, how they can become a better person, and how they can succeed by grasping that one initial opportunity and then building on it, building a future, a chance to do things better, have a better life, and have a stronger community. And I was impressed by that. I have to tell you. Just thinking about the logistics of getting here to testify and not being on Zoom, some having to have a translator to make their testimony known to all of us so that we could understand just how important it was. Think about that. Bringing a translator just so you can testify in Hartford before a committee and get the message out. That just, it struck me. I will be supporting this today. I would honestly say if there was any way that this could pass, it would send a message about everybody working together. That is perhaps the one really inspiring concept here, that we have an opportunity to do something very special that will resonate throughout the state of Connecticut. Madam Chair, I thank you for the opportunity to say a few words here. And I want to commend everybody who came here to Hartford to make your presence known on a weekday. And having probably gotten here, I think you guys were here probably around noon, 1 o'clock after a 2-hour ride with any luck if the traffic wasn't bad. Again, thank you for the opportunity to share a few words with you. And we have a chance to do something very special. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? Representative Kennedy, followed by Representative Osborne. Is there anybody else left that has not spoken?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do apologize. I did not plan on speaking, but listening to everyone, it was said earlier, because there's been so many remarks today, that we need to look at this budget as a whole and let everything in it. And it's been clearly stated that the money is in this budget. So that shouldn't come as a surprise. Is the process a surprise? I'm not really sure. But as a former state PTA president, the mission statement of PTA is to make every child's a potential a reality by engaging community. I truly believe that. And I've just heard so much today. I just felt obligated. We just need to remember we're just talking about children, and we want to give them all the tools, all the potential to be beautiful young adults, no matter black, brown, purple, pink, white. I will be supporting this amendment, and I look forward to moving along forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Osborne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As a freshman legislator, like the proponent of this amendment, I would not expect to be speaking at an appropriations budget hearing. But I feel compelled to do so because I go back to what our good ranking member said about this budget when we started this conversation. And that what she said, the ranking member said that this was a truly bipartisan effort. And I've tried very hard to work in a bipartisan fashion this year. Two of my favorite bills that I worked on this year, one was passed unanimously with bipartisan support out of judiciary, and one came out of housing of all places with a lot of bipartisan support. And I worked that way intentionally because I think we work that we have a stronger system when we are working to take one another's considerations and concerns and to act on those. But as I sit here and I return to the ranking member's comments that this was a bipartisan budget, that means that there are some things that Democrats wanted that weren't in here, and there's some things that Republicans wanted that weren't in here. And I cannot begin to understand what the education system and situation is in Danbury. I feel all of your pain and your anguish for your children, and my heart really goes out to all of you today. But I also know that there's a long, long list of unmet needs in this budget. Things like, the home health aid workers who I spoke with who are getting paid so poorly that they're living on SNAP benefits, like the education, there's no excess cost grant increase. So there are vast special education needs going unmet in this state. UConn is facing a humongous budget deficit that we don't know what we're going to do about that fiscal cliff. I can go on. The nonprofits that have been not just underfunded, but had their funding cut year after year, are nowhere near subsistence level in this budget. And suffice to say, there are a lot of things in this budget that a lot of us, if we had the opportunity to raise our hand and say, I'd like to have money for this project instead of this one, a lot of us would do that. And so I returned to what the ranking member said, was that this was a bipartisan budget. And I have to say that if we start going line by line in this budget, every single member here would have an equally compelling argument for an equally compelling cause, because there are a lot of unmet needs in this budget, and that's just where we are. So because of that, and it is not because I know anything about the Danbury situation, and it is not that I'm not without great empathy for what I really feel coming from all of you, but it is because there are so many people who are in the exact same situation that you are in today, whose needs have not been met by this budget, that I have to vote no on this amendment because there are so many needs. We can't pick and choose one by one. And for me, I have to trust in the bipartisan process that came to the budget that is before us today. And it's all or it's nothing, in my opinion. So if we vote on this, yes, then we got to open the whole thing up again, because that's just not the way to go about it. So I will be voting no on this amendment today, with a heavy heart, because I understand, I can see the anguish on your faces and all empathy to you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Exum. Representative Exum. Okay. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, Madam Administrator, if you call the roll.
Senator Austin,
Regretfully, no.
Representative Walker,
Unfortunately, no.
Senator Hartley,
Support charters, but I am a no on the amendment. Thank you, Madam Administrator.
Representative Exum,
Same here. I'm a supporter of charters, but no on the amendment.
Representative Paris,
For the comments of my colleagues, support charters and no on the amendment. Thank you.
Senator Berthel,
Proudly, yes.
Representative Nuccio,
Even when it's inconvenient, yes.
Senator Anwar,
Senator Anwar votes no.
Representative Baker,
Representative Baker votes no.
Representative Belinsky,
Representative Belinsky proudly votes yes for a school that's in the budget.
Representative Callahan,
Representative Callahan votes yes.
Representative Candelaria,
Candelaria votes no.
Representative Chaleski,
Representative Chaleski votes yes.
Representative Curry,
No.
Representative Dathan, Representative DiCaprio,
Caprio's a no. Yeah, Caprio's a yes.
Representative Delaney,
Representative Delaney is regretfully a no.
Representative Delnicki,
Yes.
Representative Dillon,
No regret.
Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Flexer,
Senator Flexer votes no.
Senator Fonsello,
Representative Fonsello votes yes.
Representative Garabay,
Representative Garabay votes no.
Representative Gibson,
Representative Gibson votes no.
Representative Gilchrist,
No.
Senator Gordon,
Senator Gordon votes yes.
Representative Gonzalez, Representative Haddad,
Haddad votes no.
Representative Hall,
Representative Hall votes no.
Representative Harrison,
Yes.
Representative Hoxa,
Representative Hoxa votes yes.
Representative Johnson,
Representative Johnson votes no.
Representative Khanna,
Representative Khanna votes no.
Representative Kennedy,
Kennedy votes yes.
Senator Kushner,
Senator Kushner votes no.
Senator Lesser,
Lesser is a no.
Senator Marks,
No.
Representative McCarty,
Representative McCarty votes yes.
Senator McCrory, Representative Nolan,
Supporter of the magnet schools, but I have to vote no. Charter schools, I'm sorry.
Representative Porter. Representative Osborne.
With compassion, Representative Osborne votes no.
Representative Reyes.
Representative Reyes in the affirmative.
Representative Rosario.
Representante Rosario vota sí, yes.
Representative Rutigliano.
Rep. Retigliano votes yes.
Representative Ryan.
No.
Representative Sanchez.
Representative Sanchez votes no.
Senator Slapp.
Senator Slapp votes no.
Representative Sims.
Representative Sims is a huge supporter of charter schools, but I'm a no on this amendment.
Senator Summers.
For the children of Danbury, Summers votes yes.
Representative Terciak.
No.
Senator Winfield.
Senator Winfield in the negative.
Representative Zawistowski.
Representative Zawistowski votes yes.
Madam Administrator, please let me know the tally. Madam Chair, total number voting 53, those voting yea 20, those voting nay 33, those abstaining 0, those absent not voting 0. The amendment fails.